On the afternoon of April 29, 2022, Lauderdale County Sheriff deputies locate a distinctly marked patrol vehicle sitting silent and abandoned in the sprawling asphalt parking lot of a Florence, Alabama shopping center. Sunlight glares off the empty windshield. Inside the vehicle, there is no sign of Assistant Director of Corrections Vicky White, nor is there any trace of the towering 6'9" capital suspect she was assigned to transport. A frantic radio check crackles through the dispatcher frequency, confirming a terrifying reality. The pair never arrived at the county courthouse for their scheduled mental health evaluation. Facility logs soon reveal a chilling breach of mandatory security protocols. Vicky had chosen to escort the dangerous inmate alone, directly violating strict departmental regulations designed to prevent exact scenarios like this. Panic sets in across the department as local law enforcement realizes their trusted jail administrator and their volatile prisoner have vanished into thin air. Florence sits along the edge of the Tennessee River, characterized by historic brick storefronts and a tight-knit law enforcement community. Before the shocking disappearance, Vicky White lived a rigid, structured life within this county as an esteemed and trusted figure. She was a widow with a sterling 17-year tenure at the Lauderdale County Detention Center. Within the bleak, fluorescent-lit walls of the jail, she held significant authority and commanded unwavering respect from her peers. The facility itself stands as a concrete fortress, separated from the town square by a mere few blocks. Vicky oversaw daily operations, managed the rotating staff of deputies, and coordinated all inmate transports across the county lines. To her colleagues, she was a maternal, by-the-book leader who always prioritized the physical safety of her officers above all else. Her dedication appeared absolute, yet a sudden shift in her routine surfaced. On April 28, 2022, she submitted her official retirement paperwork to the department. She told stunned co-workers that she could not do it anymore. She was merely hours away from what was supposed to be her final uneventful shift. In stark contrast to the respected administrator stood Casey White, a hulking career offender with a towering physical presence. He cast a dark shadow over the detention center, possessing a long history of violent home invasions and aggressive encounters. He was housed in the maximum security wing awaiting trial for a capital charge related to the 2015 death of Connie Ridgway. Connie was a beloved resident of the community who lived a peaceful, quiet life before she met a brutal, permanent end in her own home. The case against him for this tragedy would eventually be suspended in 2023, and as of 2026, it remains on hold with leave to reinstate. Within the isolated, high-stress environment of the county jail, the worlds of the maternal jail boss and the violent offender collided. The layout of the detention center forced regular proximity between high-ranking staff and restricted inmates. Concrete corridors echoed with the heavy metallic clatter of cell doors, masking any quiet conversation spoken through the steel grates. No one suspected that behind the facade of institutional dedication displayed by Vicky, a clandestine and compromising dynamic had taken root. The rigid boundaries between guard and prisoner erode entirely in the shadows of the facility. She maintained her pristine professional mask while harboring a terrible secret. The stage was set for an unprecedented betrayal of public trust. The irreversible chain of events begins at 9:30 in the morning on April 29, 2022. The morning air hangs heavy with humidity as Vicky White orchestrates an unorthodox transport from the main Sally Port of the detention center. The Sally Port operates as a secure enclosed garage designed to isolate inmates from the outside world during vehicle transfers. She stands on the concrete floor and informs her subordinates that she is taking Casey White to the nearby county courthouse. She states the purpose of the trip is a mandatory psychological evaluation for the inmate. Furthermore, she tells the desk sergeant that she feels unwell and will seek medical attention for herself immediately after dropping him off. Surveillance cameras capture the surreal, chilling image of the diminutive jail boss walking alongside the shackled, towering prisoner. The heavy steel doors roll open, revealing the bright morning sunlight outside the facility. Vicky holds the rear door of a marked Ford Taurus open for the massive inmate. He folds his large frame into the back seat without hesitation or resistance. She slides into the driver's seat, shifts the vehicle into drive, and pulls out of the secure perimeter. The Roz holds perfectly, leaving the remaining guards unaware of the unfolding deception. Hours pass in the busy detention center with the routine noise of ringing phones and clanking keys filling the dispatch room. The facade finally crumbles at 3:30 in the afternoon when booking officers realize Vicky has not returned from her medical appointment. A growing sense of unease spreads through the administrative office as dispatchers attempt to contact her. Her mobile phone rings endlessly before dropping to a generic voicemail, unresponsive to the frantic calls of her deputies. A shift supervisor makes a swift verification call directly to the scheduling department at the county courthouse. The response from the court clerk shatters the entire foundation of the morning transport operation. The clerk confirms that no psychological evaluation was ever scheduled for Casey White on that day or any other day. A cascade of realization washes over the Lauderdale County Sheriff Department as they review the morning logs. The stark reality emerges that a high-profile, dangerous suspect is now loose in the general public. This was not a forced kidnapping or a sudden act of violence against a guard. The empty patrol vehicle sitting in the shopping center plaza offers the final piece of the puzzle. The terrifying truth crystallizes for the local authorities in real time. This is a calculated escape orchestrated entirely from the inside by one of their own commanders. The discovery of the abandoned patrol car triggers a multi-agency crisis protocol across northern Alabama. Local deputies transform the Lauderdale County Sheriff Headquarters into a sprawling incident command center. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead as dispatchers coordinate emergency roadblocks along the state borders. The realization that a violent capital suspect roams unrestricted forces local authorities to escalate the manhunt to the federal level. Agents from the United States Marshal Service arrive at the brick facade of the station and assume lead jurisdiction over the sprawling pursuit. Investigators identify a catastrophic systemic failure embedded in the facility transport policy. Rigid departmental rules mandate that any inmate bearing capital charges must be escorted by 2 armed deputies at all times. The jail boss exploited her high-ranking administrative authority to override the desk sergeant and bypass this critical security checkpoint. The broken chain of command allowed a towering, dangerous predator to walk out the front door without raising a single alarm. Federal agents study the physical geography of the escape route, mapping the distance between the detention center and the shopping plaza. The short 2-mile drive offered the fugitives a crucial window of time to switch vehicles and vanish before anyone noticed their absence. A heavy blanket of dread settles over the surrounding neighborhoods as dusk approaches. Residents lock their doors and draw their blinds, knowing a man capable of severe violence walks freely among them. With the physical trail empty, federal investigators pivot their focus toward the hidden financial life of the former jail commander. Detectives secure legal subpoenas for her bank accounts and begin dissecting years of pristine financial records. A chilling timeline of calculated preparation emerges from the columns of printed bank statements. The data reveals that on April 18th, just 11 days prior to the escape, she closed the sale of her primary residence. She offloaded the property for roughly $95,000, a figure falling far below the actual market value of the home. Investigators track the movement of these funds through local bank branches scattered across the county. Over the following week, she conducted a series of structured cash withdrawals totaling approximately $90,000. By breaking the withdrawals into specific amounts, She bypassed federal banking thresholds designed to flag suspicious financial activity. The paper trail leads agents to local sporting goods stores where they unearth receipts for an AR-15 rifle and a 12-gauge shotgun. Additional security footage from nearby department stores captures her purchasing oversized men's clothing and survival gear. The sheer volume of cash and weaponry confirms a terrifying reality for the Manhunt Task Force. This was not a spontaneous lapse in judgment or a sudden abduction. It was a methodical operation funded and supplied by a commanding officer who understood law enforcement pursuit tactics. Seeking to understand the origin of the betrayal, detectives returned to the concrete corridors of the Lauderdale County Detention Center. They pull visitor logs, phone transcripts, and cell movement histories stretching back over 2 years. Federal agents conduct grueling interviews with former inmates inside the barren, soundproof interrogation rooms of the jail. A concealed psychological dynamic surfaces from the testimonies of these witnesses. The inmates detail a long-standing secret jailhouse romance between the high-ranking official and the dangerous prisoner. Detectives uncover a pattern of manipulation where the jail boss granted the towering inmate extra food trays on a daily basis. She abused her administrative access to provide him with special communication privileges, allowing them to converse away from the standard recording equipment. The rigid protocol system of the jail operated on an inherent trust in senior command staff. Junior guards lacked the authority to question the actions of their superior, creating a massive blind spot within the institutional security apparatus. The predator wore the mask of an ordinary compliant inmate while cultivating a corrupted asset at the highest level of the facility. He exploited her authority to orchestrate his own release, using her pristine reputation as a shield against any suspicion. Investigators realize they are hunting a highly organized pair possessing inside knowledge of police radio frequencies and tracking protocols. Law enforcement locks down the physical perimeter surrounding the Florence shopping plaza. Uniformed deputies halt traffic at major intersections, inspecting the interior of every vehicle leaving the county limits. Highway patrol units deploy tire deflation staging areas along the interstate ramps leading toward the state borders. Back at the command center, intelligence analysts dive into the vehicle registration databases. They search for any secondary automobiles registered under the name of the missing jail boss. The system highlights a dark history of recent uncharacteristic purchases made just weeks before the disappearance. Records confirm she acquired a used orange 2007 Ford Edge from a local dealership using a false pretext. She parked the secondary vehicle in the plaza parking lot days ahead of time, staging it for a rapid transfer. Detectives feed the license plate data of the Ford Edge into the National Automatic Plate Reader Network. The digital dragnet scans thousands of highway cameras across the southern states, searching for a single match. Hours turn into days as the digital system yields zero returns. The fugitives understood the placement of regional camera systems, utilizing back roads to evade the electronic net. The pursuit grid produces a physical lead when a crucial alert flashes across the National Crime Database. A local patrol unit locates an abandoned vehicle deep in rural Williamson County, Tennessee. The geographic location sits roughly 2 hours north of the initial disappearance site, surrounded by dense, towering pine trees and isolated farm roads. Local Tennessee deputies secure the perimeter around an orange 2007 Ford Edge left idling on a dusty gravel shoulder. Federal agents arrive and confirm the vehicle identification number matches the car secretly purchased by the fugitive jail boss. Crime scene technicians process the exterior of the Ford Edge, dusting the door handles and windows for latent fingerprints. They deploy heavy static lights to illuminate the dark interior, searching the upholstery for discarded fibers or dropped receipts. The floorboards reveal no mud tracks, and the trunk sits empty of any survival gear or weapons. Investigators realize the fugitive staged the vehicle drop in a remote location lacking traffic cameras or toll booth sensors. The strategic placement creates a physical dead end for the tracking teams. No eyewitnesses report seeing the towering man or the former commander exiting the orange car. The trail vanishes into the quiet Tennessee wilderness, leaving law enforcement with zero indication of their new direction of travel. The investigation enters an agonizing phase of silence as the physical trail goes cold. Detectives report to the command center each morning at dawn, staring at large maps covered in dead-end pins. The task force sifts through hundreds of civilian tips pouring in from across multiple state lines. Each phone call requires a meticulous vetting process to separate genuine sightings from the noise of public panic. Agents dispatch local police units to check truck stops in Georgia, rest areas in Kentucky, and motels in Mississippi. Every single lead results in a false positive, draining valuable time and resources from the core investigative team. Technology experts scrub hours of highway toll camera footage, searching for any vehicle matching the profile of stolen cars in the region. The cross-state nature of the manhunt introduces severe bureaucratic friction between different jurisdictions. Detectives must route warrants through separate district attorneys just to access localized license plate reader data. The rigid legal framework slows the pursuit, while a violent offender remains hidden among an unsuspecting public. Investigators study the psychological profile of the fugitive. Knowing his history of aggressive encounters suggests he will eventually seek out a vulnerable target for resources. The heavy weight of an impending tragedy hangs over the task force as they grind through the empty spaces of the investigation. They understand that time favors the prepared fugitives carrying $90,000 in untraceable currency. The stagnant silence breaks open on the 9th day of the manhunt when a specific piece of digital evidence surfaces in Indiana. Investigators receive a tip regarding suspicious activity near a self-serve car wash located on the edge of Evansville. The geographic layout of the property features open cinder block bays facing a busy commercial avenue. Federal agents request and acquire the security server data from the owner of the wash facility. Technicians isolate a specific timestamp and enhance the grainy, low-resolution digital footage. The screen displays the undeniable image of a man possessing a massive 6'9" physical profile standing on the wet concrete. He moves with a distinct gait, wiping down the exterior of a dark 2006 Ford F-150 pickup truck. The sheer size of the individual eliminates the possibility of a false positive, confirming the predator has traveled deep into the Midwest. Agents run the license plate of the truck through the regional database. The query reveals the vehicle was reported stolen from a different county in Tennessee shortly after the fugitives abandoned their orange Ford Edge. The meticulous tracking of the stolen truck provides the task force with a precise mechanical target. The hunt narrows from a vague national search down to the specific city streets of Evansville. Law enforcement units pivot their entire operation northward, rushing tactical teams toward the Indiana border. Local Evansville police establish a silent rolling grid search along Highway 41, scanning every commercial parking lot. The main thoroughfare cuts through the industrial sector of the city, lined with discount retail stores and aging motor lodges. A patrol officer spots the stolen 2006 Ford F-150, parked outside a single-story brick building known as Motel 41. The vehicle sits backed into a spot near the rear exit of the property. Positioned for a rapid departure, United States Marshals arrive in unmarked vehicles and establish a concealed perimeter around the edge of the asphalt lot. Plainclothes detectives secure the guest registry from the front desk manager of the motel. The paperwork reveals the fugitives rented the room under assumed identities, paying for a multi-day stay with crisp, uncirculated cash. Investigators confirm they are hiding in plain sight, blending in with wary travelers and local residents. Tactical commanders set up surveillance positions on the neighboring rooftops, observing the peeling paint of the motel door. They study the distance between the motel room and the stolen pickup truck, calculating the exact window of exposure. The team waits in tense silence, watching the heavy curtains of the target room shift in the midday heat. The snare is set, and the task force prepares to execute a coordinated strike to bring the extensive pursuit to a definitive halt. The date is May 9th, 2022. 11 agonizing days have passed since the initial disappearance. The geographic layout of Motel 41 features a sprawling, cracked asphalt parking lot opening directly onto Highway 41. A heavy industrial fume fills the humid Indiana air. Federal agents hold their concealed positions along the perimeter. They watch the faded wooden door of the target motel room. The fugitives do not approach the stolen pickup truck. Instead, they move toward a gray Cadillac sedan parked near the edge of the property. The former jail commander and the towering fugitive step out into the sunlight. They sense the unseen law enforcement presence closing in around them. Panic breaks their methodical morning routine. Vicky slides into the driver's seat of the sedan. Casey folds his massive frame into the passenger side. The engine roars to life as the tires spin against the loose gravel. The Cadillac surges toward the busy highway exit. The gray sedan tears onto the northbound lanes of Highway 41. Sirens shatter the tense afternoon silence. Unmarked task force vehicles activate their emergency lights. They flood the main roadway from every side street. A high-stakes pursuit erupts through the commercial corridors of Evansville. The Cadillac weaves frantically between unsuspecting civilian vehicles. Commuters swerve toward the concrete shoulders to avoid the massive impact. The sheer mass of the fleeing vehicle turns it into a rolling weapon. Dust and exhaust choke the humid spring air. The pursuit enters a highly dangerous urban grid. Traffic signals blur past the glass windshield. Federal agents maintain visual contact while calculating the immense risk to the public. A rolling shootout remains a terrifying possibility in this dense environment. Tactical commanders make a split-second decision over the radio to force an immediate halt. A heavy armored task force vehicle accelerates rapidly toward the fleeing target. It aligns with the rear quarter panel of the speeding Cadillac. The tactical driver executes a precision immolization technique. The heavy steel push bumper strikes the rear corner of the sedan. The sheer force of the impact causes the rear tires to break traction. The Cadillac spins wildly across the sun-baked asphalt. The driver loses all mechanical control over the heavy machine. The vehicle skids violently off the elevated roadway shoulder. It plummets sideways into a steep, grassy ditch. The metal chassis catches the soft earth. The sedan rolls violently over itself. Shattered glass rains down upon the crushed interior cabin. The vehicle comes to a complete rest upside down in the thick weeds. A cloud of dirt and engine smoke rises into the clear sky. Heavily armed tactical units swarm the smoking wreckage. They establish a tight perimeter around the crushed vehicle. Service weapons remain drawn and leveled at the shattered windows. Casey White crawls from the mangled passenger side. He raises his empty hands toward the clear blue sky. He surrenders to the surrounding authorities without incident or physical resistance. Officers secure his massive wrists with heavy steel handcuffs. The attention immediately shifts to the interior of the overturned sedan. Investigators pull roughly $29,000 in cash from the wreckage. Officers rush toward the driver's side to apprehend the former commander. They find Vicky White trapped behind the steering wheel holding a weapon in her hand. She has sustained a fatal, self-inflicted gunshot wound, ensuring she will never face a jury. Emergency medical technicians arrive at the chaotic crash site. They pull the former jail boss from the twisted metal frame. Paramedics rush her to a local Evansville medical center under heavy police escort. The medical staff initiates extensive life-saving protocols within the sterile trauma bay. Despite their intense efforts, Vicky White succumbs to her injuries later that evening. Her death brings a tragic and abrupt end to a once sterling law enforcement career. The news ripples across state lines, devastating the Lauderdale County community. Colleagues grapple with the ultimate betrayal committed by their trusted leader. The maternal figure who once prioritized the safety of her deputies had armed a dangerous predator. She funded a sprawling criminal enterprise and endangered countless innocent lives. The massive stockpile of weapons found in the ditch highlights the grim reality of her violent intentions. The public breathes a collective sigh of relief, knowing a major tragedy was narrowly averted. Local authorities process Casey White at the county holding facility in Indiana. Extradition protocols activate immediately across the state departments. Alabama state troopers transport the towering fugitive back across state lines under unprecedented security measures. A convoy of armored vehicles escorts him deep into the state correctional system. He is placed directly into a maximum security state prison upon arrival. The Department of Corrections implements severe restriction protocols to prevent any future escape plots. He remains confined to a solitary unit isolated entirely from the general prison population. The facility strips him of all non-essential communication privileges. The catastrophic administrative failure forces a massive overhaul of transport policies across the state. Law enforcement agencies mandate strict overlapping security checks for all high-risk movements. No single commanding officer can ever bypass the two-guard transport protocol again. The system solidifies its broken chain of command, ensuring the bureaucratic loophole is permanently sealed. The judicial system demands ultimate accountability for the devastating escape. Prosecutors initially charge the violent offender with felony murder in connection with the tragic end of his accomplice. The legal proceedings stretch into the following year while navigating a complex web of jurisdictional evidence. In 2023, the state presents a binding plea agreement to the criminal court. Casey White stands before a presiding judge and accepts the rigid terms. He pleads guilty to the formal charge of first-degree escape. In exchange for this definitive admission of guilt, the district attorney dismisses the felony murder charge tied directly to the death of Vicky White. The judge delivers the absolute maximum sentence allowed under the state law. The wooden gavel falls, condemning the hulking predator to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The legal system strips him of his physical freedom entirely. The concrete walls of the penitentiary become his final, permanent reality. The shadow of his past crimes remains a central focus for the local community. Connie Ridgway lived a peaceful existence before her future was stolen in 2015. She remains the true victim anchored at the heart of this sprawling criminal saga. Her surviving family endured years of agonizing delays and emotional torture watching her alleged killer command national headlines. The separate capital charge for her death is formally suspended by the court in 2023. However, state prosecutors officially reserve the absolute right to reinstate this capital charge at any future date. The procedural suspension serves as a strategic legal maneuver rather than an exoneration of guilt. The families of his past victims express immense relief upon hearing the definitive life sentence. They find comfort knowing the towering predator will never walk free among the public again. The town of Florence slowly heals from the profound institutional betrayal. They find solace in the final triumph of order. The public finds ultimate peace knowing the walls of justice have permanently closed around a career criminal.